Hello, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today's topic is how to will things into existence and shift outcomes. First of all, like much of what I talk about, this all goes back to the fact we live in a quantum universe. The basis here is that everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies, and reality is observer dependent. But let's dive into that for a minute. What all goes into that phrase and concept, reality is observer dependent? But first, let's outline some things we need to remember. The first thing, dimensions 1 through 3 are physical, and the fourth dimension is the non physical veil or canopy, and it's the realm of myths, archetypes, and the collective mind. And you can view the fourth dimension as the realm that sets the vibe of the physical experience, or you could also view it as the computer programming that sets the rules, vibe, etc. of the physical experience. The fourth dimension is essentially a matrix. The next thing to remember, there are many, many, many physical experiences that we build our eternal lives in. Don't view the dimensions as separate. Ideally and usually, all of the dimensional energies of the dimensions 1 through 9 are all layered and spiraled within each other. When this is the case, the physical experience is what we archetypally call heaven, and the physical experience fully resonates with all 1 through 9th dimensional energies. And when this is the case, there's total bliss and total freedom. In these physical experiences, we are completely in tune and in alignment with our true nature as energy alchemists and divine beings fully connected to God or source energy. And in these experiences, we can travel around using our Merkaba light body, instantly manifest, and do many, many things that seem absolutely wild to our current human mind. The last thing to remember is that the Earth's fourth dimension was hijacked and a false matrix was put up to cut humanity off from higher dimensional energies. This took away humanity's freedom and caused most of us to forget our true power and our true divinity. So that's some background information that I basically talk about every episode, but it's really, really important to fully grasp this, fully understand, because it ties into everything that I talk about. So, like I said, the fourth dimension is the realm of the collective mind, aka the collective consciousness. And there isn't just one overarching collective consciousness, there are segments or groups, all made up of people with similar vibrations or frequencies and similar beliefs. And you may hear spiritual content creators or spiritual practitioners speak to a certain collective of people. And this is what they're talking about when they say that. So essentially, the collective mind or collective consciousness isn't predetermined or pre-programmed in the fourth dimension. The collective mind is programmed by the beliefs of in the different segments or collectives. Then when it comes to the myths and the archetypes of the fourth dimension, these are pre-programmed. Let's go back to the collective mind for a moment. The Dark Global Elite, the group that hijacked Earth's fourth dimension to control humanity, they did so in part by brainwashing, manipulating, and controlling the collective mind. Because remember, the collective mind, part of this fourth dimension, can't be preset. It's programmed based off of the beliefs of humanity and based off the beliefs of that specific collective of people. This is why the Dark Global Elite use so much propaganda and uses every pillar of society to brainwash and manipulate. We truly need to question everything and take a critical look at any organized group that impacts or influences what we believe. Think about the impact and influence of the education system, organized religion, politics, and Hollywood and entertainment. I mean, think about this. Think of how trendy it is and how society tends to embrace whatever health documentary Netflix is pushing. Should we trust that? We really need to step back, question everything, and don't just blindly accept. We need to think really critically about where information is coming from and think critically about, okay, why would they be pushing us to believe this way? Essentially, we just really need to question why we're being taught things, why they're pushing certain agendas, and step back, think critically, and ask why. Our mindset and our beliefs drive everything. Like I said, reality is observer dependent. I've talked about this next concept before, but the concept is thought forms. This is when the dark global elite put out ideas so society adopts and believes the idea, and it's then programmed into the collective mind. This is one of the many ways they control and manipulate society. I mentioned the collective mind is actually segmented, and there are different collectives of people within similar vibrations or frequencies and similar beliefs. You can actually shift the collective you're in by changing your vibration, changing your beliefs, doing work to improve yourself, and seeking the truth. You can view this as the concept behind the term we hear timeline jump or shifting timelines. So, back to the concept of reality is observer dependent. Two things come into play here. The first thing is the collective mind segment or specific collective you are in. And then the second thing is your personal beliefs. Your reality is observer dependent, and your personal beliefs are operating and limited to whatever the programming of your collective has established. So, what we want to do is really work on ourselves, do the work to understand and love ourselves, do things that will raise our own vibration. We want to learn all of this knowledge and wisdom so we truly understand the concept of a quantum universe. We want to understand it in a way where we accept and adopt it as our belief. This aligns with the belief that we are divine beings and we are limitless. And we truly need to understand the why behind all of these concepts. That's why I spend so much time giving background info and repeating and going over concepts again and again, and starting off each episode with some of the relevant background. Because we really need to understand this in a way where we can explain it, even if it's just explaining it to ourselves. And we really need to understand and truly see that big picture and how it's all connected. Because once we understand something, we believe it. Once we understand all of this, we also see all of the lies we've been told and all of these ways we've been very manipulated. It becomes very clear. So once we establish this great base and we raise our vibration and we shift to the highest segment or collective of the collective mind, this is the collective of people many call the leaders of New Earth. These people are the way showers and the visionaries. They know the nature of this quantum universe. They know our divinity, our true nature, and they know it's up to us to create this magnificent place with our wonderful and limitless mind. We are co-creating by being connected to God or source energy. Think about the concept of psychological barriers. Psychological barriers are barriers our own mind has adopted as true. Once these psychological barriers are overcome, it opens the floodgates for others to break the same limits. This phenomenon is often discussed in sports and other performance-driven fields, and it's linked to the broader idea of mindset and self-imposed limitations. One famous example is the 4-minute mile. For many years, it was believed that running a mile in under 4 minutes was physically impossible. And then, when Roger Bannister broke this record in 1954, he ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. After he broke that, it wasn't long before other athletes also achieved the same feat. The barrier had been mental as much as physical. And once people saw it could be done, they began to believe it was possible for them too, and many followed suit. This effect ties into the concept of self limiting beliefs. Our brains often set artificial boundaries based on what we think is possible, and this is influenced by societal norms, historical data, or personal experience. And once these perceived limits are shattered, our mindset shifts and we no longer view them as obstacles. And this is also connected to the idea, the self fulfilling prophecy. In essence, once someone proves that a limit isn't real, others realize they also can surpass it. And this often leads to a rapid breaking of records or achievements in that specific field. So, first of all, if you're listening to this and you know you yourself have self limiting beliefs, and if you tell yourself stories that limit you or are negative, you really need to get to the root of that and get that all in line and move past it. I recommend journaling about this and writing down any limiting beliefs you have. I'll actually create an exercise with journal prompts for this, and I'll put it in the show notes. So then let's say you're past this step, but you don't fully understand the quantum universe concept. I recommend listening to my other episodes and learning more about the concepts until you fully grasp it and believe it to be true. And I'm not just telling you to blindly believe this at all. You'll get to the point where all of it starts to click and all of it makes sense. Now, let's say you're already at this point. Then it's time to start building and dreaming with no limits and no constraints. It's time to break all of the boundaries. But no matter where you're at in this journey, this next part applies to you. So now let's get into how to will things into existence and shift outcomes. First of all, the chakra system, or our body's energetic system, needs to be healthy and aligned for this. It needs to be properly anchoring in higher dimensional energy. You can go listen to my episode titled Prayer and Upper Chakra Activation to learn more about this and to do guided quantum energy work to align all the chakras and activate your upper chakras. Once the energy system is functioning properly, we need to be clear on what we want. So, for this, I recommend 3 different things. The first thing is get on Pinterest or whatever equivalent you prefer and save photos that resonate and get very acquainted with what a life with no constraints would look like. And always be saving inspo. The second thing, make a detailed PowerPoint of your ideal self and ideal life. And you don't need to be as intense as me, but I have a 98-page PowerPoint on this. But I will say a lot of it is photos. I'll make a template and link it in the show notes just so you know the outline of what I put in the PowerPoint exactly. Then the third thing is do the intention and emotion exercise. I've talked about it before, but I'll go over it again. In a notebook or on a piece of paper, make 2 different columns. On the left side is for your intentions, and the right side is for the emotions. And the key here is to write down the intention you have or thing you want to create in your reality. And then under emotions, linked to the intention, write down the different emotions you expect to feel when that intention comes to fruition. And this works because each emotion has unique frequency, and that's what we send out into the quantum, where there are tiny strings of energy vibrating at different frequencies. And these tiny strings are in a wave of energy. And all of these tiny strings of energy are equivalent to endless outcomes. So then the emotional frequency that we sent out, it attaches to the string of energy. It changes the string of energy from a wave to a particle, and that particle is vibrating at the same frequency of the emotion that you sent out. And then that is pulled back into our reality. That's how we create our own reality. And we're constantly creating our own reality, whether we know it or not, and whether we're intentional about what we want to create or not. So you could be unintentionally creating your own heaven or your own hell. It all depends on the frequency and vibration of the emotions that you're putting out. So once we have this list made, take the time to read through it and take time to really feel those emotions in your heart as you read through it. And then meditate. We want to meditate so we get our brainwaves in theta, and this is the ideal state to manifest or create from. Always meditate with intentions in mind. And you can focus on breathing and feeling the magnetic feeling of God or source energy radiating in your heart. And then once you feel really relaxed, then start visualizing your dream life and really feel the emotions you wrote down. Truly, truly, truly feel it in your heart. And I recommend doing this meditation for about 30 minutes. So, those 3 steps are the basis for intentionally creating your reality. And then once you do this more often, it'll become a natural state for you. And then you may be in this master manifester state for a lot of your day. This may translate in your day to day life as just being really zen or calm. And this translates to you truly being the observer of life. And you're not caught up in emotions. You're fully regulating your emotions. And you're just set back and observing. At this point, really, really accept into your belief system that a magical life is not only possible, but it's your day to day. Accept that life is full of synchronicities and good things are always happening to you. Then, from this point, you can start willing things into existence or shifting outcomes. And you do this by first channeling and anchoring in God or source energy into your heart. Then you want to visualize an outcome and feel the emotion with it. So start trying this in your daily life. And this may not work completely flawlessly at first because we're working within whichever collective we're in. But as we share this concept and more of the collective accepts and adopts this, then we move closer and closer to being able to instantly manifest. Remember, in realms that are totally free and in realms that totally resonate with the higher dimensional energy and are therefore what we archetypally call heaven, we can instantly manifest and instantly will things into existence, and life operates in total bliss and total synchronicity. We can will things into existence already on a lower level, but as more of the collective starts to do this too, we will start to shift into this ideal state and shift closer to this ideal heavenly state. So start doing this in your daily life and share this concept with others, because each time we do this and when we share this concept with others and more people adopt and believe it, it helps everyone. You can even do this by visualizing a parking spot open up or the perfect table at a crowded restaurant being available for you. Remember, just do the work to be your ideal self. Start meditating so you are in a Zen state in your waking life. Visualize an outcome. Feel the emotion ahead of the actual experience coming into fruition. And this is the recipe. So, there are a few more things I want to mention before I end. I just thought of them, but I talk about them in other episodes, but they tie into this concept as well. The first one is in the episode titled Protecting Our Energy. I talked about how 3, 6, and 9 are amplifier numbers. And when we're physically in groups of people in multiples of 3, 6, 9, the intention is amplified. You can get together in these groups, all have the same intention, and the power of creating that and willing that into existence will be greatly, greatly amplified. This 369 amplification method, that is when you're all in person and your energy fields are amplifying together. But you can also get in groups over TikTok or remotely and all meditate together or visualize certain outcomes and will things into existence or shift outcomes that way. And you may have seen people doing this recently, putting out love and light and intention around the different natural disasters that have been occurring. And yeah, we absolutely can shift outcomes that way. It's really, really powerful when we all get together and all set the same intention. And this is something we really should do moving forward and really start doing it for a lot of different outcomes. I hope this was all helpful. If this resonated, please share with others. We need to get this concept and framework out because it impacts the collective consciousness, which impacts our experience here. It's really, really important that we get this message out. Also, please subscribe and give me 5 stars. I love you all. Have a great week.